Good morning, hope you're doing well, and welcome to this latest video on Back of the Net. I'm joined once again by Tom Jordan. Tom, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm right, mate. Thank you.
We're in the Firkin Shed in Holdenhurst Road in Bournemouth. If you fancy a pre-match beer, whenever that will be, whenever we can get into the stadium, then make sure you do come here. And this video is all about rating the AFC Bournemouth players that played in the Premier League season, and we've got a tier list. Yeah. We're all about the tier list, aren't we? And talk us through the 5 categories, Tom, because we've got the best to the very worst.
The best is always God.
Yeah, the best is God. Yeah.
And then we've gone above average because I felt like we couldn't really say good.
Yeah.
It's been a disappointing season. Average, straight in the middle. Poor, and then in the bin. So some Scottish.
Yeah.
May drop in there, but yeah, nice little 5 categories. Yeah, let's do it.
We could obviously do the player ratings, like rate the performances out of 10, and that's what most people do. We're very busy here today. However, we thought we'd do a tier list because it'll be interesting just to see where we've placed each individual player. So we're going to do it in order of position, from goalkeeper through to strikers, and the first person that we are going to do is, of course, Aaron Ramsdell.
Player of the season. Yeah, nice place to start. Interesting, really. His first season, we've got relegated, and he was brilliant. Yeah, I really feel for him. He was absolutely. I mean, where would we have finished without Aaron Ramsdell? I mean, player of the season, I think deservedly so. I think the only other player you could really say could have staked a claim was obviously Ake, but Ramsdell thoroughly deserves that. I really hope he stays for another season because I think he's a top keeper, England goalkeeper for the future. Got to be God for me because he's in the top.
How mad is it that he's probably not going to be let's call him one of the defenders, say. How mad is it that there's probably going to be 2 defenders in there in the God category, yet we've been relegated from the Premier League? No. It's just bizarre, isn't it?
It's really weird, and we've been talking about you probably say our Premier League stay that it's been more defensively, that we've conceded too many goals. We've, apart from this season, we've always scored goals, but we've conceded too many. But then we're going into the Championship going, if we keep Ramsdale, we've got a decent goalkeeper in defence. It is odd, but I think it's more of our style of play rather than the individuals in the back 4 and goalkeeper. But yeah, Ramsdale's been incredible. What a season. Excited to see him again if he stays with us. I've got a feeling he will.
I certainly hope so. And I know there was a sort of £12 million bid that was turned down. And it is derisory, isn't it? Now, one player that played one of the games, now obviously he played the season before in a game where he was man of the match, and what a performance it was. This season he played in a game where we shipped 3 goals. It wasn't particularly his fault, maybe one of the goals was. However, Mark Travers, of course Ramsdale had the 37 appearances, Mark Travers with the 1, and that was a 3-0 home defeat to Watford, and it was a game where Ramsdale was actually in the North Stand, wasn't he?
He had a better performance than Travers and he didn't play. Do you know what I mean? He was in the North Stand giving it big ones, and I enjoyed that. But I felt for Travers. I can't. Yeah, you never know. I can't remember them being any glaring errors from Travers. It was a poor performance all round, and obviously, but he conceded 3 goals. He won't be happy with that. Obviously, he did play in some of the cup games, which we weren't that successful. But he didn't. Like I say, he's never made any clear errors. It's really hard to put him in a category, and I think it's only fair to say average because he didn't really do anything. And I think a lot of people are saying if Ramsdale were to go, I wouldn't feel like we need a goalkeeper. I think Travers could cut it. You just don't want Ramsdale to go because he is that next level. But I'm interested to see how Travers' career sets off, really. I feel like last season was the chance to maybe have got him out on loan, where we had Boric there as backup, and we could have just let Travers go and play football. So I was surprised that we didn't do that. But good upcoming goalkeeper, and he's always done all right for us, and it wasn't his fault. But Ramsdale was so good he could never get in. So.
Do you think Eddie signalled his intent at the start of the season where he gave Ramsdale the nod over Boric? Because we were wondering at what point would Ramsdale get involved. He was given the nod, and then when there was that match, it was announced he was injured. I think a lot of us were thinking Arthur would probably jump straight in there, but Travers was the one. So it's obviously clear that the focus is on the up and coming talent by the looks of it.
Yeah, I think Eddie was saying that, look, we've kept Boric for a year just because he's there for the experience. Because the weird thing was, Travers played in all the cup games, like you say, come in for the Watford game. Boric was always the sub goalkeeper in the game because it's almost like if Ramsdale got injured during the game, we would want that experience to come on. But starting off, we go with Travers. Travers was the future, and it was really odd that first game. There was 4 goalkeepers he could have. I mean, Begovic obviously still there at that point, and any of the 4 you could have made a case for.
Yeah.
Really odd. Obviously, Eddie made the right decision, as he always does. But yeah, we're lucky. We've got 2 good young goalkeepers. Keep hold of them. Two really good young goalkeepers. And he got called up to the Ireland squad as well.
Yeah,
didn't he, Travers? That's a big statement. That.
Credit to him for that. Now, so moving on to the defenders, and Steve Cook, captain for the majority of the season. How do you rate his season for AFC Bournemouth? I don't think it's been his best.
No, I probably agree with you there. I mean, difficult one with Cookie, because I think in some of the wins we had when he played, you thought he had a colossal performance. What a performance! Some games he was just awesome, and then other games you just thought, oh, it's a really difficult one. I don't think he was bad, but I don't think he was brilliant. I think it's only fair to put him in average.
Yeah.
But still love Cookie, and I think at the end of the day in the Championship, obviously Ake's gone now. He'll be one of the best centre halves in the Championship. There's no doubt about that in my mind. No doubt.
Yeah, no, looking forward to. I mean, and he's still 29, relatively young. I'm sure he can do an excellent job. And a player that's 24 years old that had his first Premier League experience this year was Jack Stacey. Came from Luton Town, and we were all wondering how he was going to do. And I thought he did all right, really.
Yeah, I was quite impressed with him. I think, like you say, he ended up kind of playing more games than he thought, because we tried with Daniel's injury, Smithy the left back, and we kind of got Jack. I think that was credit to Jack that Eddie was happy to move Smithy over just to get Jack Stacey in. And to be fair, there was times where I thought I felt like he was more of a wing back.
Yeah.
Because he could really bomb on. I know Luton said that. There was a few games, I think I remember Tottenham away he played, and I thought, it's still a bit naive defensively. Yeah. But I expect that from for a 24-year-old that's just come up from. I mean, he played most of his career. He played like the lower leagues. So, and he's someone that it's interesting because I don't see Smithy going anywhere. I feel like we'll have some left backs. I feel like he probably won't get in the team, but he's probably one of the better right backs in the league. So I almost want to say, as much as it's difficult because I don't think he was any better than Steve Cook. But you got to look at it individually. He come in first season, played more games than he probably expected to in the Premier League. Yeah. He's barely ever played in the Championship, has he? I don't think he's ever played in the Championship.
No, that's right.
I'm going to go above average because I feel like he done better than I expected to when he was just thrown in at the deep end, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of him actually.
It's quite funny when you see players like Adam Smith. That I mean, I wouldn't say he's in the twilight of his career, but I don't think that many Premier League teams are potentially going to be looking at him, and they're almost at sort of opposite ends of the spectrum, but they're on the same level. It's kind of like me playing like football with my old man as a kid. He was always better than me, but there was a point in time where we were the same. He was a lot older, and I was a lot younger, and it seems to be that mix between Jack Stacey and Adam Smith at the moment, and I'd love to see how it pans out next season. Now, speaking of Adam Smith, 24 appearances. How do you think he did?
Surprised me that he only 5 more Premier League appearances than Jack Stacey. It surprises me actually, but he did have a spell of injury, didn't he? What I will say is, as much as I don't think Smithy had the best season, I think he'd be the first to say that. I remember being on the pod with you after the Watford game and the 0-0, and Smithy had only just come back, and he'd been out for a while, and we'd had bad run results. Then we played Norwich and Watford, didn't perform very well, but 2 clean sheets. And I felt like people weren't giving him the credit, but he gave us that balance. And I feel for him because he's been shoved at left back a few times, like we were saying earlier, which isn't his position. He's even played right midfield occasionally. And I do feel like I love Smithy. I feel like Jack will give him a run for his. We don't know about JT, who he prefers. He might be more of a Stacey mould. I mean, I could even see some games where they could play in front of each other, kind of like and rotate. I love Smithy. But I remember there was only a few seasons ago where I thought he could be knocking on the door for the England squad. Now I'm looking at him saying he's probably about the 8th right back. There's so many right backs in England, I don't see him anywhere near it. I'm going to go average because I don't think he was bad enough to be poor. Yeah. I still feel like he come in and done a job. I never felt in any game that Smith was one of the worst players. But he will be the first to say he's had a lot better seasons.
I'm broadly in agreement with that. So next we're going to go over to Diego Rico, who's been an odd one. He didn't have the best of starts to the club, and a lot of people thought he was wasted money, but the more he played, the more he performed, the more goals he assisted, the more set-piece deliveries he did, and you're sort of thinking, we really don't want to lose him for the Championship campaign. What's your opinion of him this season, 2019-20?
It's a really bizarre one. I think he's had a good season. I think he was one that come in and I thought, how is this bloke playing professional football? He's useless. And it shows the character of the guy, because I tell you what, he's come back and how he's got back in that team, and fair play to him. And I feel like there was some, don't like to read too much into stats, but there were a lot of stats that said he was one of the top interceptions in Europe.
Something like that, wasn't it?
And in all fairness, I feel like Callum probably didn't get on the end. It was Callum in particular. But some of the balls he put in, you thought, strikers would be dreaming of that. And I feel like he would have had more assists if he had better strikers. I don't think it was all his fault. Still raw. It's weird because I look at him and feel like he should be like a 20-year-old, kind of like, because the way he plays, and he's
27.
He's more mid-late 20s, and that surprises me. But because of how he started at the club and how he's come through, I think he should go in the above average, because I feel like he surprised me, and I think he surprised many fans with his his level of performances. I think everyone thought he wouldn't barely play, and obviously with Chaz's injury, I actually thought he stepped up and performed really well. And I think his ratio of like win percentage, all that crap, I think is pretty good. I prefer him there than us going like Smithy at left back, and kind of, I think he gives more of a balance.
As Bournemouth fans, we probably harp on about it a little bit too much. Obviously, mind the gap and all that kind of stuff that we were singing in October. But when we beat Saints 3-1 or whatever it was, what a delivery it was for Ake. And there have been numerous times, even against Man City away during lockdown, that ball to Callum Wilson, Josh King or Callum Wilson who squared it to Brooks to score. Callum
squared it to Brooks,
that ball there was almost Charlie Daniels
balls in the channels,
I hope he stays with us. One player that one of my last memories of this player on the pitch was a horrible situation at Anfield, where we were in the away end and looking at him basically gifting the ball to Mo Salah, or was it Mane at the time, I think it was, that then put in Mo Salah. And as a 23-year-old, you really felt for him. Liverpool ended up winning 2-1, and Jack Simpson was ultimately the player that maybe lost us that game.
I feel on the fence with Jack. I feel sorry for him, because I think I remember when he come through and he was playing cup games, you think he's a good player, and then it just so happened with injuries and stuff, he was thrown in, I think, at the Etihad against Man City, and you think, that's a blim. And then, like you say, comes on at Anfield because of an injury. It's not his fault. And I do feel like a lot of the time he's really trying to play the Bournemouth way, and he's almost overdoing it by trying to play out the back. He should have cleared that. But he's trying to do the right thing, so and I don't think he's that bad. I feel like he gets a bit of unfair criticism. But having said that, he's not 18. He's 23 years of age, and I feel like he should have developed more than he has done. I feel like it's a tough one. I think I'm going to have to go Paul, just because he hasn't played many games. But in the games he did play, there was one big error. So I think it wouldn't be fair to say he's on the same level as Steve Cook. That's not fair. But it'd be interesting this season. It'd be interesting because I feel like we've dropped down a level, so you can kind of say, he might get a chance now, but he's nowhere near Steve Cook, Lloyd Kelly and Chris Mepham. So
how is it that Bailey Cargill got blooded for England under 21s or whatever it was, scored that goal at the Vitality, and Jack Simpson I thought was just another one of them, but he's got more Premier League appearances, and I honestly thought that it was going to be a case of Jack Simpson was a better version of Bailey Cargill, but the more time's gone on, there are some similarities there, aren't there?
Yeah, it surprises me, because I think actually looking at it on individual performances, I feel like Bailey Cargill was better. I felt like Bailey was going to be a really big player. You can't blame Eddie or anything for it, because at the end of the day he's at MK Dons, I believe now. It's not like he's at a top championship club, and I always felt like Bailey, the thing that was holding him back was he had a lack of pace, which I felt probably was the reason. But yeah, Jack's 23. He's not 18-year-old, and I feel like he might go. I feel like he might have to drop down the leagues to play reg. But I feel like if he got into a decent team in League One, he'd be quite a good centre-half for him. But I don't think it's ever going to happen for him here.
Okay, so 2 players to go then, and one of which shone through lockdown, I think. His performances were pretty solid. There were some individual errors that led to goals, which ultimately may have relegated us. But the fact that he took to that central defensive position like a duck to water, I think he did very well. Lloyd Kelly, 8 appearances, and he's a player that's been linked with teams like Liverpool, so he must have been all right. Being
linked with Liverpool with basically only playing after lockdown says it all, doesn't it? Really. I think you've said it on Britain. Lots of people have said it on previous podcasts and online and stuff like that. The fact that Nathan Ake got injured, which gave him his chance, and you didn't notice that Ake was gone, said it all.
Oh yeah, that Man City match.
Unbelievable. So, but also I'd like to say he didn't play for a large part, so you got to put that into consideration as well. But top player, I think if we got him and Cookie at centre half next season, we haven't even got on to Mepham yet. you like to think that's a blimmin' good centre-half pair in the Championship, and he can also do a job at left-back if needed. I feel like, it's difficult because I feel like, is it fair to put him above Cookie, who's played virtually all season? But I am. I'm going to go above average. Wow. No, I am, because at the end of the day, you got on appearances. Yes, Cookie, it's not his fault. He played more games, and so it's more chances to have bad games. Lloyd Kelly, when he played, he was brilliant. So I'm going above average.
Fair play. And you know what? He's our future. And
yeah, future.
I suppose if you're looking at the transfer market, you're kind of doing it the right way in that the players that are younger have got more value. Therefore,
we get double the price of Kelly as we would Steve Cook.
Yeah. So therefore, on a tier list, I think you're probably right placing him where he is. And finally, a player that notched for us on our first match of the season, I think, against Sheffield United. Yeah. And he played 12 matches for us, but ultimately there have been injuries and. You know, trying to dislodge Steve Cook and Nathan Ake is never an easy thing to do. Just ask Tyrone Mings how to do that. But Chris Mepham, always consistently playing for Wales, but for Bournemouth not so much. How have you thought he's done this season?
I feel like whenever Meps has come in, he's done a job. Like, I don't ever feel like, put it this way, if we went into next season and we had Kelly and Cook, and one of them was to get a knock and we had Mepham for the next game, I wouldn't be like, oh no. You know what I mean? I feel Mepham is a good player. And I actually feel like if Brentford had got promoted, I wonder if they would have come in, you know. They loved him there. And he tended to have, obviously that Sheffield United game you mentioned where he scored, played free at the back. And there was a few games where he played free at the back and he'd come in. It's almost like, because he's quite a good footballing defender without being a great man marker, he's probably better in the back three. I quite like Meps, but he's just... It's weird how he's just not quite. And injuries didn't help.
Has he always got an error in him?
I feel like a little bit with similar to Jack Simpson. I can't believe that he's younger than Jack Simpson actually. Yeah. But similar. They were always. I almost felt like they were overdoing trying to play out from the back. Whereas if they just. But I like him going forward. I wouldn't like us to get rid of him because I feel like he's. But this season, he got a goal. He got us a point, didn't he? To be fair, I still feel like Billy Sharp's goal was handball as well. I'm going to go average. I don't think it's right to put him in poor because in the games he's played, he's done a job. Yeah. So I feel like average is fair. I'm happy with that.
Nathan Ake, Tom. Terrible, in the bin, awful.
Best player I've ever seen in the Bournemouth shirt, mate. Unbelievable. Even once again, he's got to go God with Ramsdale. Ramsdale deserves to get player of the season from me. First season at the club as well in the Premier League. But if Ake got it, no one would have moaned. I've never seen a guy who just doesn't have a bad game. We could be awful and I think, we're still... And you almost, when you talk about after a game, you say players that have played really well, you don't even mention him. Because you know he's going to be 10 out of 10. He's just unbelievable. I've never seen a bloke who just blocks everything, heads everything. And I tell you what, Man City fans, which I get, are kind of like, wow, we signed a defender from a team that have gone down. Him and Laporte. If you had him last season, City, you could have won the league. He's that good. I watched the only team I was saying that he couldn't strengthen was Real Madrid. Yeah. And I watched City Real Madrid, and I thought that Varane was a shocker. And I thought, Ake could strengthen, but every team, unbelievable footballer.
How lucky were we to have the guy?
So lucky.
We were punching above our weight, weren't we?
Yeah, massively. And even if we had somehow stayed up, I'd have still expected him to go. Yeah. I don't know how Chelsea let him go and then didn't try and get him back. It baffles me. Well, if you've got I look at their centre halves and think,
if you've got a £40 million clause where you can get him back, why wouldn't you do that? And even if you don't want him, just sell him on because the guy's worth more than what we sort of, it's a post-coronavirus climate and one where we're in the Championship. So you could probably add, 15 million onto that value? Easy. I don't know. And, people were talking about him in the same ballpark as Harry Maguire, who got done by Junior Stanislas on a whim. So, God for Nathan Ake, 100%. Now, we're going to go to Charlie Daniels.
Chaz, I think what I will say about Chaz is that we never look as balanced without it. How many left backs have we tried to get to replace Charlie Daniels and they just can't? Mings coming as a left back, remember? Brad Smith coming. We can't upgrade on Charlie Daniels, and even when he played earlier in the season, I thought he's still our best left back. Yeah. I really feel from the injury, and I really hope that JT and we kind of say to him, let you have your rehab here, get back. We got Diego there, but you'll be back in a few months into the season. Now you can compete with Diego. If them two are fighting out for left back, I'll take that. Not really his fault for the season. So, but then I also feel like it's not fair to put him with Cookie, who's played all season. So I think we're going to go poor, but it's not directly on him.
That's
we just got to be fair to.
That's no, and you know, I don't know where Frano will be, but he's had a similar sort of season, I suppose. I mean, he's played a little bit more, but what are your thoughts on Simon Francis this season, club captain?
Yeah, played a little bit more, often the scapegoat in my opinion. Once again, like I say, if we were talking about it in general, he'd be an absolute god. I feel like there's 2 games that stand out for me with Frano. Wolves at home, shocking. Out of his depth, took someone out, got a red card, almost cost us the game to some respects. And then Chelsea away, him and Meckham were at centre half. So Cook and Ake were our centre half. They were both out for Chelsea away, and they were colossal. And he was unbelievable that day. So there's 2 games, either end of the spectrum, and that's kind of what you get from Frano. But I can imagine, without knowing, that he's great behind the scenes. But poor. He can't be with Steve Cook.
No, I agree with that.
And it's not. But I still love Frano, and I still feel like he gives us all. But to the Premier League standard, he's got to be. Yeah, he's got to be poor.
So there we go. We've gone through our goalkeepers and the midfield and the defenders, and in the next video we're going to be looking at the midfielders and the attacking options that we've got. Do you agree with that? I think we've broadly got it on the money, don't you think?
Yeah, always.
Always. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. And in the next video coming up tomorrow, we can talk about our midfielders and our strikers. And you know what? There's a certain Ryan Fraser. I'm really interested to hear your opinion about him. And I think even Jordon Ibe got an appearance, didn't he?
I hope not.
Stay tuned for that one. Do remember to like this video and press the subscribe button. See you tomorrow on the Cherries.